New videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content.
There's always been a dream of mine to explore the universe.
Drive charging.
So what if I could? Imagine I could go anywhere and see anything. In this mad void, I can.
3, 2, 1.
You're not afraid of the dark, are you? Don't be afraid. Come with me. I will show you where I play hide and seek. Do you want to play hide and seek? You hide, and I'll find you. You're going to die in there. Don't say I didn't warn you. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Here in the forest, dark and deep, I offer you eternal sleep.
Our innermost fears and twisted curiosities, it seems, will arrive at one of two conclusions. We are the leery prey of the shadows, or we stalk the prey with them.
Warning: this video contains disturbing material. Viewer discretion is advised. Today, we dive into the twisted minds of murderers and psychopaths. We take you on a journey through 4 of the most disturbing interviews ever recorded on video. From a child psychopath to rapists and serial killers, we grasp the incomprehensible reality of some of the most disturbing minds to ever have walked the earth. We'll listen to their stories and watch them talk openly about their unspeakable crime. Here are 4 disturbing video interviews that will keep you up at night. Number 1. The psychopathic little girl. Beth Thomas became known as the psychopathic little girl after she openly shared her darkest thoughts on camera. In 1992, Beth was part of a documentary, and she calmly revealed that she wanted to kill her adoptive parents while they slept. The interview alone is enough to send shivers down your spine. She was only 6 years old, but she already had sinister traits caused by an attachment disorder. Beth was severely neglected as a young child, as well as sexually abused by her biological father. She lacked empathy and has what is described as a psychopathic personality. Her reign of terror began when she tortured her family dog and killed a nest of baby birds. Next, she went on to torment her biological younger brother, who lived with the same adoptive parents. She smashed his head into a concrete floor when she tried to kill him in the basement. Beth's adoptive parents were so afraid of what she might do next that they ended up locking her in a room each night to prevent her from hurting them. Have a look for yourself, if you dare.
Are people afraid of you, Beth? Who's afraid of you, Beth?
John.
Your brother. And why is your brother afraid of you?
Because I hurt him so much.
Okay. And what, at nighttime, what do your parents do to your door?
Lock it shut.
Why do they lock it shut?
Because they don't want me to hurt John.
Right. And they're kind of afraid of hurting John? Of you hurting John? Okay. Are they afraid that you might hurt them?
Yep.
Would you, Beth? When would you do it?
Nighttime.
Okay. Why would you do nighttime?
Because I don't like them seeing me do it. But they can tell me do it.
And what would you do to him, Beth?
Stab him.
Okay. What would you stab him with?
A knife.
Do you ever stick pins in people? Who?
My brother.
Okay. Do you do it a little bit or a lot?
A lot.
Okay. And what are you trying to do to your brother?
Kill him.
Why do you want your brother to die?
Because I was hurt so bad, and I don't want to be around people.
Okay. Who else would you like to stick pins into?
Mommy and Daddy.
What would you like to have happen to them?
Die.
Did you get real mad at him? Did you hit his head real hard? Tell me about it. How many times did you do it? A lot? What was the floor like?
Cement.
And what happened to your brother? Tell me about it.
His head hurt real bad, but his chin, he had to have stitches in it.
Could you stop? Use your words back.
No.
Okay. What was your brother doing when you were doing this?
Playing with the toys.
Okay. Was he asking you to stop when you were doing it? What was he saying?
He said, Beth, stop.
And what did you do?
I didn't stop. I just kept on hurting him.
What were you thinking when you were doing that?
Thinking of killing him.
How did you stop? What made you stop?
When I heard Peter walking across the kitchen, it made me stop because I thought Mommy and Daddy were coming.
Okay. Did Mommy come? What did she do?
She sent me to my room.
Okay. And what if Mom didn't stop you? What would you have done?
Kept on doing it.
Number 2. The psychopathic sex offender. As part of a documentary as well, Robert spoke openly about his terrible crimes on camera. His charm and confidence are typical body language signals for a psychopath and will make your hair stand on end. He calmly talks about his crimes, explaining what he did and why he acted this way. Robert molested over 24 children over a number of years, with his victims being between the age of 18 months up to 16 years old. His behavior was continuous and unremorseful. He even molested and abused his own daughter. He admits to grooming her first, using power, control, and manipulation to make her do whatever he wanted. He thought that this was easy, and that was when his darkest fantasies came true. He molested his own daughter when she was only 18 months old, and described himself as the Punisher. Let's hear what he has to say about his disgusting crimes.
I was grooming her from the age of, it started at about the age of 1. When I was the Punisher, I was the one who decided punishment over the children. I was the one who spanked the children. I was the one who punished the children. And if I seen the children doing anything wrong, even bickering, arguing amongst themselves, I would whip them and tell them, you know, just kids playing. I would tell myself, well, she's not going to be like that. She is going to be the perfect mate. And I told myself that. And I didn't molest her then.
The perfect mate.
The perfect
So you were...
mate. I was grooming her to fit me.
And at what age?
I started at about a year. I started grooming her, whooping her, and telling her this, to do this, not do that. Then when I molested her at 18 months old, and I thought to myself, I said, well, this is going to be easy. This is going to be easy. I'm going to have my own child, my own stepdaughter, which is really not blood related to me. And I'm telling myself these things. It's not blood related to me. When she grows up to be 14, 15 years old, I will have the perfect sexual mate. And I manipulated her and coerced her. Manipulation, coercion, violent behaviors, striking her, get her so drunk she'd pass out, and I'd do what I want to with her. I'd force myself upon her when she was passed out and did what I pleased. Yeah, I made her force objects into her vagina. I made her, forced her into watching pornographic material and stating that I wanted to do that certain thing to her. I wanted to have sex with her constantly. This was every day, 3 or 4 times. I would get it, want it as many times in the day as I could get it. And I have got it up to 6 times in one day. And still, I did not have enough. I wanted more. It was like a fix. I wanted it. And I did anything I could to get it.
And how many victims did you have total?
I have a total of 24 now. And I'm looking to see if I have any more.
And were these, you said these were all kids except 2?
No. Oh, yeah, well, they were under the age of 18. Most of my victims were the age of 11 to 16.
And how did you get control of them? Was it through force and control and violence?
It was manipulation. No, it wasn't violence. It was more like manipulation. It was coercion. It was like, I'll buy you this. I'll give you that. You know, and treating them like a person, but they were just objects. They were just objects. I was doing anything in my power to get them to give sex up, to give it up. And that's what I used to tell them. I said, give it up, you know. After I would have done, say, groomed them up, and then and they would comply. I would buy them beer, get them drunk, get them high, get them, any way that I could manipulate a woman or a girl, a child, into having sex, I would do it.
Number 3. Ted Bundy. Next up is one of the most notorious serial killers of the 20th century, Ted Bundy. This man is horror himself, with the crimes he committed known for being a murderer, a rapist, and a necrophiliac. While Bundy admitted to killing 36 young women in several states during the 1970s, investigators believe that this number could be much higher. It could even be as much as 100 victims. The sad truth is that we will never know how many people Ted Bundy actually killed. From an early age, Bundy had a strange fascination with knives. His aunt even woke up one day with him standing by her bed smiling with knives in his hands. As a teenager, he began to peer into people's windows and stalk women at night. While living a seemingly normal life by day, there were clearly dark fantasies lurking beneath the surface. In his 30s, the killing began and he murdered young women by luring them into his car asking for help. For each of these young women, this would turn into a fatal mistake. He would decapitate them and dump their bodies, sometimes even keeping the skulls. Ted Bundy even described himself as the most cold-hearted person you will ever meet.
Ted, it is about 2:30 in the afternoon. You are scheduled to be executed tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock if you don't receive another stay. For the record, you are guilty of killing many women and girls.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
Ted, how did it happen? Take me back. What are the antecedents of the behavior that we've seen? So much grief, so much sorrow, so much pain for so many people. Where did it start? How did this moment come about?
That's the question of the hour, and one that not only people much more intelligent than I have been working on for years, but one that I've been working on for years and trying to understand. Is there enough time to explain it all? I don't know. I think I understand it, though. Understand what happened to me, to the extent that I can see how certain feelings and ideas developed in me to the point where I began to act out on them. Certain very violent and very destructive feelings.
Let's go back then to those roots. First of all, you, as I understand it, were raised in what you consider to have been a healthy home.
Absolutely.
You were not physically abused. You were not sexually abused. You were not emotionally abused.
No, no way. I grew up in a wonderful home with two dedicated and loving parents, one of 5 brothers and sisters, 2 Christian parents who did not drink, they did not smoke, there was no gambling, there was no physical abuse or fighting in the home. I'm not saying this was Leave It to Beaver.
It wasn't a perfect home.
Well, no, I don't know that such a home exists, but it was a fine, solid Christian home, and nobody, I hope no one will try to take the easy way out and to try to blame or otherwise accuse my family of contributing to this, because I know, and I'm trying to tell you as honestly as I know how, what happened, and I think this is a message I want to get across. But as a young boy, and I mean a boy of 12 or 13, certainly, that I encountered outside the home again, in the local grocery store, the local drugstore, the softcore pornography, what people call softcore. As young boys do, we explored the back roads and sideways and byways of our neighborhood, and oftentimes people would dump the garbage and whatever they were cleaning out of their house, and from time to time we'd come across pornographic books of a harder nature than more graphic, you might say, more explicit nature than we would encounter, let's say, in your local grocery store. And this also included such things as, let's say, detective magazines and more hardcore.
Those that involve violence.
Yes, yes, and and this is something I think I want to emphasize is the most damaging kinds of pornography. And again, I'm talking from personal experience. Hard, real, personal experience. The most damaging kinds of pornography are those that involve violence and sexual violence, because the wedding of those two forces, as I know only too well, brings about behavior that is just too terrible to describe.
Now, walk me through that. What was going on in your mind at that time?
Okay, before we go any further, I think it's important to me, and that people believe what I'm saying, to tell you that I'm not blaming pornography, and not saying that it caused me to go out and do certain things. And I take full responsibility for whatever I've done and all the things that I've done. That's not the question here. The question and the issue is how this kind of literature contributed and helped mold and shape the kinds of violent behavior.
It fueled your fantasies.
Well, in the beginning, it fuels this kind of thought process. Then, at a certain time, it's instrumental in what I would say crystallizing it, making it into something which is almost like a separate entity inside. And at that point, you're at the verge, or I was at the verge of acting out on these kinds of thoughts.
Now, I really want to understand that. You had gone about as far as you could go in your own fantasy life with printed material, and you made or printed and video or film
magazines, what have you.
And then there was the urge to take that little step or big step over to a physical event.
And it happens. It happened in stages, gradually. It doesn't necessarily, not to me at least, happen overnight. My experience with, let's say, pornography generally, but with pornography that deals on a violent level with the sexuality, is that once you become addicted to it, and I look at this as a kind of addiction, like other kinds of addiction, I would keep looking for more potent, more explicit, more graphic kinds of material. Like an addiction, you keep craving something which is harder, something which gives you a greater sense of excitement, until you reach the point where the pornography only goes so far. You reach that jumping off point where you begin to wonder if maybe actually doing it will give you that which is beyond just reading about it or looking at it.
Do you remember the decision to go for it? Do you remember where you decided to throw caution to the wind?
It's a very difficult thing to describe. The sensation of of reaching that point where I knew that it was like something had, say, snapped. That I knew that I couldn't control it anymore. That these barriers that I'd learned as a child, that had been instilled in me, were not enough to hold me back with respect to seeking out and harming somebody.
Would it be accurate to call that a frenzy, a sexual frenzy?
Well, yes, that's one way to describe it. A compulsion, a building up of this destructive energy. Another factor here that I haven't mentioned is the use of alcohol. But I think that what alcohol did, in conjunction with, let's say, my exposure to pornography, was alcohol reduced my inhibitions. At the same time, the fantasy life that was fueled by pornography eroded them further.
In the early days, you were nearly always about half drunk when you did these things. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Was that always true?
I would say that was generally the case, almost without exception.
All right, if I can understand it now, there's this battle going on within. There are the conventions that you've been taught. There's the right and wrong that you learned as a child. Mm-hmm. And then there is this unbridled passion fueled by your plunge into hardcore violent pornography. And those things are at war with each other.
Yes.
And then with the alcohol diminishing the inhibitions, you let go.
Well, yes, and basically I was a normal person. I wasn't some guy hanging out at bars or a bum, or I wasn't a pervert in the sense that, people look at somebody and say, I know there's something wrong with him, and just tell. I mean, I was essentially a normal person. I had good friends. I led a normal life, except for this one small but very potent and very destructive segment of it that I kept very secret and very close to myself and didn't let anybody know about it. And part of the shock and horror for my dear friends and family years ago when I was first arrested was that there was no clue.
Number 4. Daniel Wonsiak. Last but not least is Daniel Patrick Wonsiak. Once an actor, Wonsiak went on to play the real-life role of a murderer after killing 2 people in cold blood in 2010. So, how did a seemingly nice man who was good with children suddenly turn into a heartless monster? Well, money. Wonsiak was in debt and needed to fund his wedding and honeymoon. But it was his friends, Samuel Herr and Julie Kabushi, who would ultimately pay the price. His plan was to steal money from Army veteran Samuel Herr. He headed to his friend and neighbor's apartment and shot him twice. Afterwards, he took his cell phone and ATM card. He then texted Julie Kabushi to lure her over to the apartment and shot her twice in the back of the head. He must have thought he'd gotten away with the murders, since he was on stage and sang in the lead role when the bodies were found.
You said you wanted to talk to me. What's going on?
I'm crazy and I did it.
You did what?
I killed Julie and I killed Sam.
Okay. Tell me how you killed Sam.
2 shots using my father's gun that I had.
And your motive behind killing Sam was?
Money and insanity.
Money and insanity. Okay. Tell me about the Sam incident and what you did.
I told him that I needed to move some stuff from the theater. I said, you need to bend down and help me lift this thing up. And when he bent down, I grabbed the gun. I never really fired the gun before, so I pulled it back and I shot him.
Okay. Is there anything that you said to Julie prior to shooting her?
No, I didn't. I I got her in. I was downstairs in my apartment. I was still text messaging.
That was Sam's phone you were using?
Yes.
Okay.
Sam's phone.
What sort of text messaging were you doing back and forth?
I was saying, you need to come over tonight. You need to come over tonight.
What did you say to Julie?
Julie was wearing like a crown tiara. She had just come from her brother's. I had said, like, Sam had just called me and he was going through some stuff. She said, yeah, me too. I said, well, I have a key. Let's go in. I opened the door. I let us in. And then I just went to the bathroom real quick because I was really nervous. Loaded the gun again.
Yeah.
Went back out into the hallway and then said, oh, by the way, did you see this in Sam's bed? And I said, lean over, look at it right there. And when she was leaned over, I put 2 bullets in the back of her head.
Okay. Why did you feel you had to kill Julie? What was the rationale behind that?
I was going crazy.
No, but seriously.
Seriously, to cover up Sam. And so
why? How would that cover up Sam?
To make it look like he was on the run and he did it.
He was the one that did it.
Right. I reached a point to where I couldn't even believe that I was doing this. I don't know. I don't know.
And there you have it. Some of the most chilling interviews we were able to find. If you love hearing all these dark and gruesome tales, feel free to subscribe.
That's enough. This behavior, we're miles beyond a glitch here.
Now, who's the dummy?